Jaguar has come a long way, from its heyday as a massively celebrated brand to almost running the risk of becoming totally irrelevant and nearly shutting down under Ford ownership. But today Jaguar is vibrant, it is forward-looking, and it is alive. And if its sedans and the XK family weren't proof enough, this car certainly will do enough to establish the company's renewed vigor and strengths. The F-Type revives Jaguar's love affair with the classic two-seater European sports car. It is modern and classic all at once, and with it, the company has been able to once again get the attention of the auto aficionado.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. The F-Type is the most significant model from Jaguar in about 50 years. Now this, of course, draws on the very rich heritage of two-seater sports cars from the company's history. But what makes it significant is that it's also the most powerful Jaguar. It is all aluminium again, and it's also perhaps the company's most significant new launch under Tata stewardship. So that makes it one that's been watched very closely. Now, in terms of being a sports car, performance becomes very important, and so it has those credentials as well, if you will, because there are three engines on offer. There is the V6, which is a base at 340 horses. You got the V6S, which belts out 380 horses, and then the range topper is this car, the V8S, with 495 horsepower output, and so it's quite a little monster. Now, the car will be launched in India, though you only get the top two variants in India, and that's going to happen in July. So prices, well, you can expect them to be about 1.3 to 1.5 crore rupees, so it will not be cheap, and of course that's primarily due to the duty structure, which you're all familiar with.
We will bring you much more on this gorgeous little car that holds the promise of not just exhilarating performance, but also one that may take the brand back into orbit.
Now, it's a wonderful legacy and a great heritage that the F-Type drives in with. You've got some of those cars behind me over here, but I want to get a little bit more perspective on just how this car has evolved by introducing you to a special guest. We've got joining us right now on the program Mr. Julian Thompson, the Advanced Design Director at Jaguar Cars.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to see you.
Morning. Good to see you as well, and thank you for speaking to us today. So the F-Type, it's in the flesh now, and the whole world waited for it for quite some time.
Yeah.
Where did the idea begin as far as just looking at it on a blank sheet of paper was concerned?
It's obviously the car we've always wanted to do. I mean, it's you've only got to look behind at these fantastic cars behind you to know that the heritage and legacy of Jaguar is very much based around beautiful two-seat sports cars, front-engine sports cars. So it's always a car we had to do. It's always a car we wanted to do. We've had other priorities in the past, which we've grown the business, and it's just everything myself and Ian Callum have just wanted to do these past years. So finally we've got the chance and it's out there, and it's been quite an intimidating task, as you can imagine, matching up to these cars, but I think we've achieved something truly special.
But that's just the thing, matching up to these cars. I mean, if you look into the history of Jaguar, you've got these design icons. I mean, you've got the three cars right here actually, which are really sort of significant in that sense, because they really draw on that one idea of being one with your machine, but yet expressing something out there on the road. How do you live up to that kind of a statement? Because it's not as if there's that one theme that carries through all these cars.
Yeah, I mean, you can't let yourself be intimidated by it. I mean, the thing is, if you have a fantastic heritage like this, it can be your greatest asset, but it can also be your greatest anchor, if you like. It can hold you back if you're too worried about it and you're too worried about matching up to it. I think if you look at these cars individually, what you realize about them is they're very, very innovative, both in terms of design and technology. And I think that's what you've got to try and recreate. You've got to try and recreate that same energy that William Lyons did all those years ago, doing something really, really special, really, really beautiful. We love the company Jaguar, we love working for it, and just as William Lyons did, we want to do something which is really, really great and from the heart, and that's what I think we've created.
Now, the E-Type, of course, a design icon and a masterpiece in its own right, and admittedly, this is something that a lot of people across the world have always held true about that car. Now, there's certain sort of parts of that car's design which were very unlike what was going on at that time, and it brought a certain amount of popularity, if you will, to that form. The way the form rises just above the rear wheel arch, and of course the little fuselage on the side. Was it important to hold on to those elements?
There are certain elements of the car which, you know, I mean, I think if you look at the two cars together, there are certain elements which we do try to put in every Jaguar. And so when we talk about Jaguar sports car, we're not necessarily just referencing this one. We're referencing the other cars as well. If you look at this car, I mean, what's so great about it are these fantastic proportions, this long, long bonnet, which seems to be almost like 3/4 of the car, and then the shorter tail. And then this form, which is so simple, this wrap section here, which is almost like an aircraft, like a tube. And it's very, very simple, very, very pure, but also very, very confident. It gives a car a real beauty and length. And then, you know, these strong lines, this shoulder line here, and then one at the back. Now, we have got those on the F-Type. You look at it. It has that same tube-like fuselage. It has the same strong lines through it. Like them, if you don't really, if it's not your thing, it doesn't matter.
Even with the sedans, we've seen that, you know, their design has been a big draw for a lot of buyers. I mean, you know, and that sort of helps them stand apart in what's otherwise fairly crowded premium car space. Where do you take that language from here on? I mean, I know you're not going to give me specifics, but what's the kind of direction we can expect from the brand?
I think our cars will always, you know, as all of these cars are, they will always be beautifully proportioned. They'll always have a sense of confidence and purity, and they should always be beautiful looking cars. Whichever segment we move into, whichever cars we compete against, our cars will always be the most beautiful and the best to drive, and that's really, in very sort of simplistic terms, where we'd like to be.
One last point which I have to ask you, I asked Ian this as well. So when you look at the car now, you know, it's out there, it's on the road. What's your most favorite feature, if I can ask you to be partial to just one thing?
I have to say that the rear end of the car, and Ian will say the same thing, it's probably its most distinctive feature. It's very, very elegant. I think when you see this car on the street, driving around, people will just fall in love with that because it looks so beautiful. It's got such a purposeful stance. It looks very, very emotional, very much alive. It really sums up, you know, what Jag is all about.
And it's very distinct. So
absolutely, yeah.
It has a good recognition value too.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
But this is great, and many congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you very much.
We can't wait to see what else you have in store for us.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff, don't worry.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.